Nick with Safety Reloaded. I want to take time to address the new and novice shooters and get them familiar with some of the important things you need to know before you take on the sport. One of the key things to remember are safe gun handling rules. One of the first things is not to point your firearm at something you don't want to destroy. Another way to say this is always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction. Safe direction may depend on where you are. If it's at a range, it'll be downrange. If it's at home, you might choose to point downwards at the ground. I prefer not to point up in the air because what goes up must come down somewhere. The next rule is to keep your finger off the trigger. I also include keeping your finger out of the trigger guard until ready to fire. The last major rule is to keep your firearm unloaded until ready to use. Ready to use is going to differ for each person. For me, it's when I put my gun on in the morning and I'm ready to carry. That's when I'm ready to use the firearm. For others, it might be when you're at the range and you're ready to shoot. Let's talk about physical safeties on the firearm. The Beretta has a safety that prevents you from being able to fire the gun while it's active. You have to take the safety off and you'll see a little red indicator to let you know that you're hot. This will allow you to fire the firearm. The same button also is a decocker, so if you had your hammer back, you can use it to safely bring the hammer down without firing the firearm. Some guns like the SIG won't have a safety, but they will have a decocker. Others like this Glock won't have a physical safety on the firearm, but that doesn't mean there's not safety features built into it. I would check with your manufacturer for all the details about each firearm. Although most revolvers don't have a manual safety, some of them will have a locking feature that prevents you from being able to activate the trigger or cock the hammer. To use this integrated feature, you'll open the cylinder, insert the key, and turn it. You'll see a small flag that pops up that says locked on it. This locking feature prevents the firearm from being fired until it is unlocked. Next, let's talk about how to make sure the firearm is safe. For semi-automatics, you'll want to remove the magazine. Then you'll open and clear the chamber and lock it back if possible. If you need to close the chamber and it has a hammer, make sure to decock it. To ensure a revolver is clear, you'll open the cylinder and with the muzzle in a safe direction, ensure there are no bullets in the cylinder. You'll then leave the cylinder open so everyone can view that as well. Much like my last video, I'm going to use snap caps to demonstrate loading and unloading of the firearms. For those unfamiliar, snap caps are fake bullets that look and are the same size as a regular round, except instead of having a primer, there's a piece of rubber or a spring to prevent damage to the firing pin. To unload a semi-automatic, you'll eject the magazine, open and lock the slide back, ejecting any rounds that are in the chamber. To load a semi-automatic, you'll take your magazine and you'll push the first round down and backwards into it. I then like to use my non-dominant hand to push the previous round down to help leverage it for the next one. Once complete, take the magazine, bullets facing the same direction as the muzzle, and slam it in place and close the slide. In my previous video, I showed you competition and speed loading for revolvers. For a standard revolver for beginners, I don't recommend trying any of those yet. Let's work on the safe fundamentals and then move from there. It can be counterintuitive to reload a revolver the first few times. Most people want to open the cylinder and using their non-dominant hand push the ejector rod. Except if you don't push the entire cylinder out far enough, you could actually wind up damaging both the ejector and the rod itself. The safest method is to take your non-dominant hand and put 2 fingers through the cylinder, forcing it out all the way, and then using the same hand to eject all of the rounds. As I said before, I'm not a fan of loose ammunition for reloading, tactically, but at the range, or if that's what you prefer, this is the way it would look in real time. You'll open the cylinder, put your non-dominant hand through all the way, ejecting the rounds, and with the barrel in a safe direction, you'll load each of the rounds into the cylinder. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of beginner's information for some of the new shooters out there. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and give us a like. If you have more questions or want us to do different videos, leave it in the comment section below. Again, this is Nick with Safety Reloaded. Keep training.